This is a demonstration of RavenDB via Terraform and Ansible. Here we have a main TF file that's propped up by a small handful of other Terraform files, but this is the primary driver. Configure AWS, it's pulling some environment variables in for authentication and keys, but otherwise that's about it. We ask for an AWS instance, we configure some important parameters like the size, how many we want. Really that's about it. And following that, it hands off to a provisioner, which really just lazily waits and executes Ansible. Over on the Ansible side, we have a playbook, which I've just conveniently named RavenDB. Got a couple of basic things, a license file, requirements, which would install the public version of the role, and it really just executes this with no real large overrides. Going one level deeper with that, we have the actual Ansible role, which I've intentionally kept flat and simple to read. Really just runs through prerequisites, installation process for RavenDB, splitting out the user nicely, security reasons, and then at the end concludes the process with enabling and starting RavenDB. So in practice, this really simply looks like this. I have prepped this a little bit by creating the supporting resources in Terraform. So all it really has to do is create the RavenDB instance. And throughout some testing, I did have an instance kicking around, so it's destroying that because it's determined a difference. Now it's running through the creation proper. So 10:36 creation started. 10 seconds. And it's created, so it's handed off to provisioner stage, which is again lazily doing a sleep, but followed by the execution of Ansible, spliced in the public IP that it's received as an output of the AWS instance creation, private key authentication, and then an override at runtime to actually splice that IP also into the config for RavenDB to bind. So now you're seeing the actual execution of the Ansible playbook. It'll run through and evaluate, change as necessary to make sure that this machine converges with the state defined in the Ansible playbook. There are many defaults behind the scenes that we're relying upon, such as the version prompted for install, certain paths for the actual install paths, the license file path is default as well, and that's it. Runtime's included. We should be able to take this IP and simply go default port as well, 8080, and that's RavenDB in about 2 minutes.